Who is the leader of the New Orleans Pelicans? We're about to talk about it right now. Pro Pels talk starting right now.
First took away. Dance with this. Get your money's worth.
Lido and Chaz joining tonight. Before we get into the show, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. This podcast is sponsored by the Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Pro Pels Talk, located at 918 Poyser Street by the Superdome. Give them a call at 504-523-5413. If you or someone you know has been involved in an accident, Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Pro Pels Talk. Chaz and Lido tonight. Appreciate y'all joining me. Let's get right into it, Lido. We're talking leaders of the team, leaders of the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm interested to hear y'all's thoughts on this. Tell me why Brandon Ingram. We'll start off with the obvious answer, but tell me why Brandon Ingram's the leader of this team.
I mean, they all follow Brandon. Brandon seems to have a consistent voice with them. Maybe like Brandon seems to offer them comfort. He seems to treat the best player on the team, whether you want to say that's him or Zion, however you want to say it. He treats the best player on the team like he treats the last man on the bench. He seems to have a genuineness about him. I know when I went to Summer League last year, everybody was cool until they walked in and saw Brandon, and then they lost their shit. They were like, Brandon, what's up? You know what I'm saying? It was good to see him. And he kind of holds them together. He makes them feel a part of something, I assume. Obviously I'm not in the locker room, but like that's what I gather from it. So if it's any leadership role, I think you could give it to Brandon based on like just the welcomeness of him. Like he seems to just have a good rapport with everybody.
Chaz, do you believe? Sorry, I was muted. Chaz, do you believe that Brandon's the leader of this team?
I think it depends on how you define leader, right? I think people follow Brandon. I think there are some people that follow Brandon. If you ask me, as far as people who set a certain example that probably should be followed, it's hard not to look at a guy like JV, look at a guy like CJ. That's probably where it stops for me. Because Willie Green, of course, he's still new, young coach trying to figure it out. Larry's a leader in his own way, but Larry's always hurt. But, what you've seen from CJ these last, maybe, I guess, 2 years, just, CJ comes to the teams calling out Zion immediately in front of the world, plays through injury this year. JV, put in a incredibly reduced role, and still showing up, being a professional. I probably would lend more to those guys. If there is a leader, I would lend to those guys as the leader, but I would say Brandon is probably a person who people follow more.
Okay, and so we're going to get into the CJ McCollum in the second segment, Chaz, but I want to bring this back to you because you mentioned, what's the most important as a leader, right? How do you define leadership? Because it's defined multiple ways. A lot of people, it depends on who you talk to. What is your description of being a leader?
For me, I would say, firstly, you have to know what everyone needs, right? Know how to deliver to everyone, because certain people you could talk to a certain way, what have you. Holding yourself accountable, being available, first one in, last one out type of things. And I mean, you see it reflected in a number of ways. Like I'll say with the FIBA game right now, right? I'm sure everyone by now saw that quote where Steve Kerr was like, well, D Wade comes to bench with Kobe. You're like, well, you don't have a Kobe here. Yeah. So that goes to show you like his mindset. He like, look, you might be the big dog where you at, but when it comes to this, I'm the big dog. And you either gonna challenge me or you're gonna fall in line. And we see everyone's falling in line. So that goes to show you, if you're a leader amongst other leaders, I think that can really speak volumes about your personality overall. But generally, I think Brandon's more so of a guy who just works hard and people like him. He's a cool guy and people just follow him.
Fair. Lito, describe leadership to give me your definition of leadership.
It's the ability to influence people, influence them to do whatever it is that the role requires. And most of the time, leaders will fill the role. They will lead by example. Sometimes it's not vocal. Most of the time, it's not vocal. Actually, most of the time, somebody will literally just do the thing, and then you see the example set and you follow suit. I think that's what Brandon does.
I was literally about to ask Chaz. Don't you feel like, and Chaz, you mentioned it, first one in, last one out. Brandon does that, right? Like there is no doubting the dude works his ass off.
Yeah.
Do you at least give him that quality in leadership?
Yeah, in the off season, but during the season, it's like, come on, like I can't.
You want him to play more?
Well, it's not. See, it's not just that. Like he's playing right now. But does he look like a leader on the floor now? Like, will you clam up in situations where there's someone who may be challenging you? Like how are you willing to do what's best for the team, even if your ego may suffer a little bit, or it might hurt your pride just a little bit? Are you willing to make those compromises? I don't know if I've seen that yet. And again, one, like I said, you get people to follow you, but it's like follow you to where? You can get people to do a lot of not so awesome shit too. So, you could be a cult leader. So it's like follow you to where? It's kind of like where I'm at. And I think that remains to be seen. I think a lot is on the line this season.
I'm glad you brought that up because I gotta get to this next point before we get to the CJ McCollum segment. But Lito, and then I'll let Chaz go. Have you been disappointed in Brandon Ingram's performance in FIBA? And do you think it's? I mean, everyone has their takes, right? I've seen a lot of takes. Do you think he's being used correctly too?
It's a hard. All right, so if they're winning, it's hard to be like because that's the goal.
They're playing New Zealand. I don't want to. They're playing New Zealand. God,
I don't know, man. It seems like everybody else can find a way to get involved, even if their number is not called, even if their name is, even if the game plan isn't implemented for them. It feels like everybody else, Austin Reeves, Halliburton, while maybe not scoring points, has been beneficial with assisting. Jalen Brunson has been pretty ball dominant. Pause, but he's been pretty dominant as far as like controlling the I guess who gets what shots. And the best player on the team. I said that before this even started, so I'm not. It's no critique I have an Ant. Like Ant not necessarily a passer. If I guess if I have one critique, it would be that of him. He has to get other people involved, also being the best player on the team, because that. So you pull a Kobe quote out, right? But then you got to do what Kobe did. You gotta be that. You can't just say that. You gotta be that. I'm disappointed. I think from a standpoint of he only shooting 4 shots feels like a game.
he is. It's a fact.
He only shooting 4 shots a game, and it's hard to get in the rhythm when you're playing that way. And then he's not really like facilitating as he can. He is giving effort defensively, though. I think if you take something away from that, like even though he's not getting the type of performance offensively that you would want him to get, that is not affecting him on the other side of the floor, which is something that, to be honest, that's the thing that I want to bring back to the Pels. That out of the whole experience is what I wanted. So if he's learned anything from that, it's from this experience, it'd be that. But I would say, it's hard to be like, Brandon, shoot more, and they winning. Even though I do, as a fan of the game, I want to see him shoot more because he does have it feels like when he's involved, he's got such an effortless feel for it. Like I feel like him getting hot would then lead to better shots for Ant. I feel like it would lead to better shots for Reeves, better shots for Halliburton. Even Jalen Brunson probably could get better shots if you put Brandon on that mid block and just let him shoot over the smaller players or however you see fit. I'm not disappointed by it though, because I don't really take nothing much from. I'm not basing this upcoming season on Brandon playing at FIFA.
Chaz, go ahead.
I'm not disappointed because, again, I think I have there's such a measured view of Brandon and what he's like good at going into FIBA. I think what a person can be disappointed, if you're a person who has super high expectations of him going into FIBA this year, I think what you can be disappointed at is how it was framed. Like, oh, he's about to go to FIBA. He on the world stage. He's the elder statesman here, all-star, and he's about to be, because this was kind of how it was even like on a national stage. It was kind of like he's about to be the leader of that team, and it turned out he was just the dude who set all the records at Delgado, and he had Duke or he had fucking Kansas, and they like, hey guy, new transfer, eh? And all the freshmen like punking them. Like that's what's happening.
Is that what you feel like right now with him?
Yeah, I mean, bro, you can't have a Jordan announcement. You can't have all these things come out and go out there and consistently drop 2 points. Like, you can't do that. Even if you was like, damn, he's 1 for 25. Like, maybe he just had an off game. He's never going to be, that's never going to happen again. But it's like, yo, you've consistently scored in double digits. In single digits. You've been benched in exhibition games. And dude, like, and I don't mean any disrespect whatsoever when I say this. You're not playing other like real NBA players here. You're playing a bunch of dudes who like do other work during other points of the year. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're playing real people with real jobs. This is Joes versus pros. And like Paolo, year one guy still going into year two. He's out there looking good. Reeves, Ant don't care about nobody. Jalen Brunson don't care about nobody. I'm just saying, like, this is your opportunity to get your point across. It's still time for him to do it, though.
Yeah, Lito, I guess I wonder. Well, you bring up a good point. Yeah, go ahead. Because I want to talk about Brunson, because playing with Brunson and Edwards in that backcourt, man, it's fucking tough, man. I just don't like the brand of basketball being played. But go ahead.
I want to comment on Chaz's point. He was like, you can't say he was going to this and he was gonna have this type of thing, and then like now it's nothing. To be honest, I feel like I was one of the first people to be like, this opportunity huge for him, and not huge in the sense where I thought he was going to be like. Justin, I feel like Chaz, you wasn't on this show. This is why I'm referencing Justin, but Justin, I feel like you could quote me on this when I said like, and Edwards is going to be the guy on that team. Yeah. Like Brandon is. You asked me how it will rank. I think I said Ant. I think I said B.I. and then I said Brunson. I never in a million years thought that Brunson would take the shots of the one on this type of team. And I didn't think that, like, I didn't think Brandon would be as passive as he's playing. I think the game plan for real is a little strange, to be honest. Like, even with who's involved with coaching the team, kind of caught me off guard, kind of still catching me off guard because how Steve Kerr plays basketball on his home team is to regards of like the product on the floor is like totally different. Yeah. And if Brandon was in that system, like say Brandon was on Golden State, like Brandon may average double-digit assists. You know what I'm saying? Because he would push the ball ahead. And I will say this, Brunson did a thing today. It was this morning, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he did a thing today when I was watching it. That shit felt like a lifetime ago. They get the rebound and he was pushing it ahead to Brandon, and he did that like 3 times in a row, and then it died. That was it.
Go ahead, Chaz.
I'm sorry. I want the we lost Lito, but I guess I'll pose this. I'll pose this to you, Justin. I don't know.
I don't know. I have no idea.
But it's kind of like, all right, like we saw Ant's mentality as it pertains to dealing with Steve Kerr. Look, Steve, appreciate the talk, but you get the fuck out of here. Like, nah. And Jalen Brunson clearly like had his headphones in when Steve was talking. So we know Brandon isn't afraid to challenge like coaches in the past. But do you guys think it may be a situation to where, for lack of a better term, he might be intimidated playing with other high-level talent? Because we've seen him struggle initially when high-level talent joins the floor with him. Like when CJ first came, or you see when Zion, especially that Stan Van Gundy year, where it's just like, oh, like, what do I do? Like, how do I insert myself here, pause? Whereas Ant and Brunson, they like, I'm gonna just do what I know how to do, and I'm about to take over this game.
I think that's the biggest, and I think you'll agree with me and Lito, big Brandon Ingram guys. I think it's one of his flaws is like he's not the guy that's like, yo, give me the ball, get the fuck out of the way. Like you want to see him be more assertive. Like I'd rather see him go 1 for 10, 1 for 11, trying to get his shot. He's just not doing that. And Chaz, it does take, like, I hate saying this, but it does take time to get used to playing with other players. Like it really does. And it's not easy to just go in and play with ball dominant guys like Anthony Edwards and Jalen Brunson. Right. And I think it's funny you brought that up. I actually looked at the 2018-19 FIBA team and I looked at some averages. Like Jaylen Brown averaged like 6.8 points per game. Jason Tatum, I think, averaged like 10. Donovan Mitchell averaged like 13. But Chaz, to your point, Brandon's in year 7, year 8. So you want him to, I think you just want him to see just assert your dominance there. And like Anthony Edwards, this is year 3 for Ant? Is that right?
Yeah. It's
Paolo going into 2.
It's only been year 3.
Yeah, Reeves going into 3, Brunson's going into 5, maybe. I think something like that. So like, I can see a little disappointment. To me, though, I'll say this. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I see everyone's points. I understand where y'all are coming from. I just think that.
No, I don't think it's a big deal neither. I
don't think it is because he's going to come in and average 25. I don't really care. I just like Toledo's point too. Like, yo, like the style of play, they ain't going to win shit playing like that. I got big news. Right? Anthony can go get his 25 and 30. Like, if they're going to play that like brand of basketball, they're going to lose. I mean, fuck, Luka just dropped 35 today. Australia looks really good. Like, there's some teams that I think will give Team USA a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little different for BI. Ant came into the team. Ant is different. Like, Ant just got that. He's got a
mentality.
He got that Mike in him. Like, he got Mike, Kobe. He got that mentality. Austin Reeves is a guy who basically had to fight for everything he has, minute-wise.
He's just playing with so much confidence, though, man. Like you can just see this dude.
But you see the fight in him. Like he's confident. Yeah, he had to fight to get that. Kind of the same thing with Brunson, man. If you look at Brunson, like nobody thought Jalen Brunson coming out of Villanova was going to be the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody that wasn't attached to him. He wasn't supposed to get that. He wasn't supposed to get the bag he got in New York, or play the way he has in the playoffs. So I think back against the wall type guys or guys like Ant Edwards who just came into situations where he looking at Karl Anthony Towns like, fuck out of here, it's my team. You know what I'm saying? Like he really believed that. And Brandon, I feel like, I'm not saying the Lakers, I'm not gonna say they stunted his growth, but I feel like when you come in with Kuzma, Lonzo there, Josh Hart, Julius Randle, I think was there too.
Larry Nance was there, right?
Larry Nance, yeah, but he wasn't a guy who.
No,
you know what I'm saying? He wasn't a guy who. But what I'm saying is like, he was drafted second, but kind of there was really no path for him to get to where he is now with the Pelicans without being traded.
You mean being like the guy?
Being like the guy, because even so, like that season he got hurt, or the season that he got traded, I think that was the year Brian came. They were running him at point guard, so he was still being a facilitator more than a scorer.
Yeah, I mean, fair points. I don't think it's a big deal, but everyone's allowed there. Everyone's allowed.
No. I'm not saying it's a big deal though. That's what.
No, I don't think it is. I don't. I never saw. I didn't think.
I don't think it matters at all. I think there's some things you can take away from it, but I don't think. Yeah, you know.
And I'll tell you this much: what you said, Lito, earlier. Defensively, I think he's bringing it. If I can see that type of effort with the Pelicans, I'll take that all day. Chaz, we'll start with you here. I'm interested because you mentioned him early on, and if you were to ask me who's the leader of the team, I would actually say CJ McCollum. But I want to hear your thoughts on why you think he may be the leader of this team.
I think he may be the leader from a historical success standpoint. Like, I'm sure people respect him as a player, and as a professional, what he's accomplished in this league. Again, it's about 10,000 more points than the best player, 5,000 more points than the second best player scored, like, over his career 20-point average guy, has been an elite second option his entire career. I think, but see, one of the downsides of CJ coming into an organization like this, Balls, is like it's like a grown man being asked to, like, go back to high school and, like, hey, go ahead, why don't you tell all the freshmen about how you get it done right. It's like they couldn't even fathom like some of the things I'm telling them. Like, they couldn't even fathom, like, why it's important to do this, because they don't got to get up early for work. Like, they don't understand it. So I think he's a leader from leading by example, but I also will say I don't think that his message is received. I don't think the players respect him.
It's fair. Lito, before I get to you, because leadership is defined differently. Like, the way I think I have a different definition of leadership than you and Chaz. I personally like the way, because Brandon even said he's not much of a talker. Zion's not much of a talker. I even think JJ Redick said it, whatever he was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, is like the quietest team he's ever been around. To me, leadership is being vocal and being more of like an example, right? So I think CJ last year, and listen, I will be the first to admit, I bashed CJ after that Thunder game. I thought he was selfish. I didn't like the way he played. I think that's one of his downfalls, but I will give him all the credit in the world. He could have packed it in. He played through injury. He was leader. As you mentioned, he called out fucking Zion at the end of the year. Like, this is how it needs to be. So Lito, to me, that's leadership. Do you think CJ is the leader of this team?
I think he's one of the leaders of the team. I think it's, you know what, it's interesting, man, because Chaz said something just now that, like, kind of I really resonate with. All the experience this guy has. You talk about a guy from Lehigh, wasn't like heavily recruited. He basically had to fight his way to the NBA, but then he had a great tournament run and he got to be a high draft pick. But then you put him next to Dame, and I think for the first 2 years of CJ's career, he averaged 5 points a game. And then the third year, he bloomed to 20 points out of nowhere. And he never stopped averaging 20 points a game since his third year. So, like, a guy like that, he doesn't understand coming to this shit and seeing, like, oh, you got all this talent and you ain't doing nothing with it. Like, what you doing? Like, we just not gonna play? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you hurt? Okay, we all hurt. Like, this is the 30th, 40th game of the season. Like, everybody hurt at this point. I don't think that they listen to him, though, because if you go back to that video where he was talking about stretching, they were making fun of him. Like, usually, like, man, when an OG speak, somebody older than you, somebody who has experience and repetition, like, while you may find that shit funny, like, they telling you something to implement it into your situation. They're giving you keys in order to make your life easier. Like, why would you have to struggle in order to keep going through the same thing every year when I'm showing you, look, every game, this is what I do. I eat right, I get my sleep, I do this. And CJ said that in the podcast. I check all these boxes. You know what I'm saying? I make sure I get my work in, I get my preparation. But it feels like it's falling on deaf ears. And I'm not saying, and maybe not necessarily with Brandon. Brandon does put the work in. I can't can't take that away from him. But I definitely feel like Zion did.
Yeah, it's 100% Zion. Listen, I know we all, we have our different opinions on Brandon Ingram, but when Brandon and CJ played, they were a good team. Like, they were a good team. They were a good duo. Hold up, Chaz, you're looking at me crazy. 2 years ago, CJ and Brandon were really good in the second half.
It was like 10-9.
Oh my gosh,
What the hell?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
But I feel like it's
That's
falling
crazy.
on deaf ears. I feel like his messaging is falling on deaf ears to Zion.
Whose
I'm
fault is that?
gonna specifically reference it to Zion since we're talking about Zion. It's falling on deaf ears to Zion. Whose fault is it that it's falling on deaf ears? It's not his fault. Shit, I'm a proven commodity. Like, all you gotta do is look at my track record, baby. I'm good. I made the money. I've been to the Western Conference Finals. I made the big shots. I got a playoff game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't on me. You motherfuckers ain't working hard enough. Y'all gotta get. Listen, I understand how good Brandon is. I understand how good Zion is. They ain't did nothing that CJ McCollum hasn't done. It's their fault. So if you ask me whose fault it is, it's their fault.
That's basically my question then, is CJ McCollum the leader of the team?
I honestly, my overall opinion, I don't think this team has any leaders. And I say that not because certain people don't try, but I can't say, because as a leader, you're also responsible for the losses, right? You're also responsible for the team's shortcomings. And I can't imagine CJ being responsible for, I really think this team is really a bunch of personalities, right? A bunch of personalities. And I think there's a lot of entitlement on this team. Now, they may be like, you got a guy who had all the bells and whistles coming out of Duke and Zion. So, and the game tends to come very easily to him. Like, he's like, I'm not even at my best yet, and I'm a 2-time All-Star. Like, you know what I'm saying? Why should I listen to you? Not that he doesn't listen, that he doesn't ignore him. I'm sorry, not that he ignores him, but you can still see that there's some growing there to do. You got Brandon coming out of Duke, another guy, next Kevin Durant, and it's like, well, I was with the Lakers, and I was a small fish in a big pond. Now I'm here, and I'm a medium fish in a tiny pond. So I can pretty much do what I want. I don't have to listen to you. And for CJ, he was like, well, this is a fucking madhouse. Like, this is a madhouse. You got Willie Green, who's kind of like, well, I inherited a weird situation because these dudes always hurt. So, I don't think, for me, I don't think there's any leaders on this team. I think CJ tries his best. I think JV tries his best to lead by example as well. But I think what this team needs overall is a good kick in the ass. I think you need a Rajon Rondo type. You need a person who, like, you need some self-starters on this team.
Listen, when Rondo came in here, man, that was one of the best Pelican/Hornets teams of all time. When Rajon Rondo was point guard. Real quick, minute each. Lito, do you think Willie Green should be one of the leaders of the team? Because I'm interested to hear thoughts.
I think Willie Green is the leader of the team.
Okay, go ahead quickly.
Willie Green is the voice of. I think we said this on another. I was saying this on another podcast. Willie Green he has committed to the hardest part of the game, getting people to buy into his message. So if that's not leadership, I don't know what leadership is.
Okay, Chaz, go ahead.
You said, I think he should.
Do you think he's one of the leaders, or should he be a leader of the team?
I would put him below Brandon in the leadership. If they were the leadership totem pole, I would probably go Brandon, CJ, Larry, Willie somewhere. I would probably put him down there, just because of the how the Devontae Graham thing was handled. Like, that sticks with me. Right. Like,
Good point. That's a good point.
That's a really good point. Because y'all have two different opinions, right? And I think that sometimes when a coach is the leader of the team, that team usually isn't going to be great. They could be average. It could be good. I think when players lead the team, that's when you see great teams. But I'm interested to hear that. Yes, one more thing.
No, I just had an example. I was just gonna ask about when Udoka was the coach of the Boston. I feel like Udoka was the leader of that team.
Ooh,
Yeah. He certainly. It's like they had all the pieces there, but he just
Marcus
put that
Smart,
dog into him,
bro.
But
like
they had been been
Yeah.
together so long, and you inject this one piece, and they literally go to the finals.
Yeah, he just put that dog
Fair
into
enough.
the whole thing. Yeah.
Let's before we get the last segment, let's hear from our friends at Chris Hawk.
I need to clear something up about New Orleans. While our culinary scene might be on fire, our food has never been about heat. It's always been about flavor. And this is how New Orleans does flavor. Are we clear? Crystal. How New Orleans does flavor.
Crystal Hot Sauce. Thank y'all for sponsoring the show. Let's get in the last segment here. Chaz, I'm going to start with you. A little bit different question. Can Zion Williamson be a leader? And if he can, how can he do that?
Man, I mean this as respectfully as possible. But I think it's incredibly easy to lead these guys. I think what you saw from that short stint of Zion in December, I think they're gonna follow whoever the cool kid is. I think this is a team full of like cast-offs and like guys a lot of guys, weren't supposed to be in this position. A couple of guys got 1 foot in the league. So I think whoever like dragging them to victory, be it a 3-game winning streak, 4-game winning streak, that's gonna be the leader. Whoever they see beat up the bully, that's gonna be the leader. Like, and it could go from week to week. I don't think it takes much to lead these guys at all.
That's an interesting take, Lito, because you saw it. Listen, November, December, they were following him. Lito, thoughts?
Leadership, leading by example, right? I don't think Zion can be a leader. Zion does not set an example to follow. Zion is a gamer. I'm not seeing him do the little things to go through the preparation to get prepared. You know what I'm saying? To stay prepared even when you're not playing.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the little things, and what do you mean by that?
So for instance, he comes into the season when the season arrives, he's in shape. No question there. Like you saw the pictures whenever the pictures came out last week, right? But let's say there's an injury, there's a setback. He doesn't do the eating part of it, which he admitted. This is not some shit I'm making up. He admitted to it on Gil's podcast. He doesn't do the eating part of it. He said he can get better at staying into like basketball shape when he's not playing. So you cannot be the leader if you're not doing those things. If you're not getting, like CJ said, proper sleep. You're not, in this case, when Nelson was hit, you're not going to treatment to get treated. You're not following the treatment steps. How can you be the leader of the team? What example are you setting?
Damn, that's well said, Chaz. Go ahead.
And another thing, I think, and I even think the conversation might be a bit premature. It's like even when we talk about, not us, but when we see conversations spoken about when it's like playoff matchups and stuff like that, and it's like, bro, this like right now, my whole thing is building a good regular season team. Yeah. And it's like, I don't even know if these dudes good or not to where I'm gonna be leading you. I don't even know if you coachable, because that's a big part of it too. Like you have to be a person who's willing to be led. You got to be willing. Coach got to coach you out. The coach has to curse you out sometimes. You have to be willing to receive that if it's for your betterment. Like I think for as harsh as Stan Van Gundy was, you kind of wish you had at least a little bit of that as an assistant coach on this roster. Maybe not calling guys out publicly, but that's how some dudes respond, man. Some dudes got to fall on their face publicly, and that's how you get buy-in.
You bring up a great point, Chaz. I didn't want to forget this before I get to you, because I'm thinking of the Spoelstra teams when it was LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, and Spoelstra had Fizdale right on the bench, and he was that guy that was like getting people's faces and things like that. It's an interesting point. I never thought about it like that.
This past year, him and Jimmy Butler was about to fight. and
that's what
Jimmy about to fight Jimmy at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, yeah. Leo, go ahead.
I was about to say all the shit I just said, right? This is where the Zion conundrum is crazy. Because Chaz just said he wants him to be a regular season team, which I get. Like, the hype got too big last year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing. I feel like if you put Zion in the playoffs, he's gonna be the best player. He's gonna be. He's
Bro,
just.
I don't.
He's not. There's not a formula.
You gotta see playoffs first. I've always believed in that.
I feel you, but check this out. He could average 40. I'm telling you, in a playoff series, I could see. Bro, like I'm not even joking. What are you doing?
Lito, hold up. Let me explain myself. I'm not saying he won't drop 27, 20 tonight, but I don't think he will drop it as efficiently as he does in the regular season.
Justin, that's
a big difference.
There's no way to stop him. He's only gonna stop himself. There's no way. I
know it was crazy. I was watching film of him yesterday. I started laughing. I'm like, motherfucker splits a double team, Euro steps, and like, what? You don't even work on that. And you don't even work on that.
He's unreal, and that's what I'm saying. He's just a gamer, right? So when the game comes, imagine like the pause. The lights are brighter. Yo, like he's a gamer. I don't know what it is about him, bro. Like he's so frustrating. Like his conundrum, like he is a conundrum. But like when the lights is bright,
who's a rookie? I'm sorry. Who's a first year player?
First contract player?
No, I'm trying to think of playoff debut. Name a player in their playoff debut where they went off. In their playoff, I think Tatum did it, right?
I think Dame was pretty good too. I think
was he?
If I remember right. Because then Dame played Houston in his debut. Because wasn't it Dame?
Was that the game winner?
Aldridge and Batum and Wesley Matthews. I don't remember. That might have been that team.
I just think there's a way. Like I just think the playoffs is your first year is just a learning experience. I'm not saying he wouldn't be good in it. I'm saying I don't think he'd be averaging 30, 35 a night. That would be crazy.
I don't know if I could see him averaging 30. I ain't gonna lie. 40 might be a stretch, but 40, I could see him.
40 was a stretch. 40 was a fucking stretch.
I could see him averaging 30. But off the top of my head, pause. The earliest, the most recent example I have, probably Trae Young.
Yeah, Trae was
pandemic year. Was that?
Nah, that was 21.
That Eastern Conference Finals year.
Yeah. When he
walked off the bar
and shit. Yeah.
I mean, did Luka go to the playoffs his first year with Dirk?
It's not his first year; it's his first playoff appearance. What I meant. It would be Zion's first playoff appearance. He hasn't played.
Then there's a bunch of people you can say. Like you can even say Brandon. There was some special circumstances.
Yeah, Brandon.
You can say Brandon.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Brandon in there. That's a good point. I'm gonna say Devin Booker.
But I would say the way the game
Devin Booker. Yeah.
Shit. What was it? I think Anthony Davis had a pretty good, like the way the game is played now and the way it's officiated for a dude like Zion. I think if in a best of 5 series, Zion probably had like multiple 40-point games on like 55% efficiency.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Just because I just look at
Giannis. I just looked at Giannis's playoff stats, and like that would be his comparison, right? He's not a 3-level scorer, but I just think they build a wall. I think it's just different, man.
It's different game.
I'm sorry. I was just about to say I think Zion is a much more graceful player than Giannis,
and more finesse than when Giannis got
touch around the rim, free throw shooting, etc. Yeah. But Giannis also is an amazing defender, and or at least it was at one time. So he stopped caring now.
Right.
But yeah,
he's done. He brought his ring to Milwaukee. Yeah, he's like talking about getting out now. Like,
yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
Hey man, Zion can average. He can average 40. I'm telling you.
If anybody could you imagine it would be Zion.
Yeah. It would be Zion.
Could you imagine Zion in the playoffs, man? That's just.
And hey, look, the crazy thing is he go average. He go put up 40. He go have 70% effective field goal.
No, he's not. You just stop.
No, like Zion is like a 2K my player dude with all the VC. Like I'm telling, like again, even the game. You go back to the game when he got hurt. And you're just like, bruh.
That's the game I was watching, Chaz.
This dude would have won. He was we were
was on the
down, and you had no doubt that Zion about to win this game. Like it was just how the dude just he's too good to not give a damn. Like
Chaz, he bullied Joel
stop
Embiid.
caring.
He had him
And
living in fear.
he had
Yeah.
Embiid and PJ. He was making PJ Tucker. He was making like, I'm talking like spin move, like 5 foot like fadeaways. I'm like, what the hell is?
There's certain players in the game that they change rules for. Zion is the type of dude that they would be like, yeah, you can't go up with your elbow out anymore. That's an offensive foul now. Like they would change rules for a dude like that, but just because you know how he did Rudy Gobert and all them guys, like it's just all you gotta do is want it for yourself, bro.
Man, I feel like this team would just a healthy Zion, man. I just think this team is really good. But I keep it's just
Yeah, they need to go. They need to bring in another voice as well. Get a higher Coach Rondo.
Oh, he. Yo, man,
they'd have fought by now.
bro. Chaz was saying you gotta have a guy willing to be cursed out, or a coach, not necessarily the head coach, but a coach on the team who's willing to cuss out said stuff.
I always think it's got to come from the head coach, man. I just.
But see, the thing too, guy, I think you gotta identify also is who. It's like we see this in movies, right? Like you might see a quarterback who like, oh, I like throwing the ball. Then it's like, yo, but we gotta run the ball here. And at the end of the movie, he realized running the ball helps him win and shit like that. But it's like you gotta have dudes who like willing to be. They gotta walk the walk. It's easy to say, oh, I want that. I want to be pushed. I want to be challenged. It's like, nah, bro, you gotta walk the walk, bro, because they got some killers out here in the league. Like that dude Jalen Brunson, he don't give a fuck about nothing. Like nobody going. If you knock him down, he's getting up. He not scared. Like you could. And Thibodeau's crazy. So you know he cursing everybody out. You playing 48 minutes tonight. You ready? I was ready for 50. I was ready for 50. Like, you know, you got to be that killer. You got to be a killer. Like, you got to be.
Yeah, man. I think if you look at the history of the San Antonio Spurs, you got a guy, Tim Duncan, who was willing to get cussed out by Pop on a nightly basis to set the example for the other guys. So if you want to be a leader, that's the example right there. That's the bar. Like, that's the standard. You got to reach that.
Or if you're not willing, you better be so great that it's just like, all right, well, we ain't gonna tell LeBron nothing. But yeah.
Like him. Yeah. Like we can't fuck with him. But this motherfucker is gonna put $1 million in his body body in the offseason. He got a cryogenic chamber. He got this. He drawing up plays. He know the whole he know the offensive he know the game plan for your team and the other team. Like what the fuck could you tell him? You can't tell him nothing.
Yeah. I just think, man.
That's why I don't think Zion will ever be a leader.
I think he could. I think it just depends on, again, with this particular team, the way it's constructed, there's so much youth and impressionable youth on this team. You're not gonna see enough like man number 8 who just like, come on, Zion, like, you know, like a veteran, like Garrett Temple. It's like, yeah, all right, you know, whatever. But it got to be somebody that you saw contribute at a high level at one time, and he might be on the downside of his career. That's why I always wanted a guy like Boogie Cousins, the person who could say, yo, you don't want to be like me, because I was a bad motherfucker. I was the best center in the league, arguably, at one time. I got hurt, and I've never been the same. Don't waste it, like, you know, because it got taken away from me. Like, you need them dudes who just people respect, like those voices guys respect.
I'm gonna say something kind of crazy. We're gonna wrap it up here in the next couple of minutes, but Chaz, y'all did a show on Najee Marshall. I'm not saying he's a leader, right? But I liked when we were on that run in November and December and talk about guys that you don't really want to fuck with. And I'm not saying Najee Marshall's pedigree. Najee Marshall hasn't done anything in the league, but what I am saying is that I remember Najee Marshall when the Phoenix stuff was going on. He was like the first guy out there. Like, nah, like you ain't fucking touching Zion. He did in another game at home, like either in December or November, where he's like, nah, dude, like, what do you got? Like, come challenge me first. So I thought, like, do you think? But then when he stopped playing and Dyson Daniels started taking his minutes, you kind of saw his edge and his fire just go. Do you think if he's playing and getting consistent minutes, he could possibly be one of the vocal leaders of this team?
I think so, but I also think that's a situation with Willie as like the head of state positioning his general properly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to position your soldiers and your generals properly, put them in positions so they can have that voice. Like Dyson, for as well as he played before his injury, I thought what Najee was giving you in that moment was a bit more valuable because you don't have enough intangibles on this team. So you got to give those guys the runway to do what makes them special to teams that may be missing that vocal leader, in my opinion.
Yeah. Lito.
I think Najee is a guy who I don't necessarily know if he's a leader. I will say that he's probably the enforcer of the team. I think Najee is a guy who, like, you kind of set his path on which way he wants to, which way you want him to go, and he ain't gonna look back, he ain't gonna question it, he gonna follow it. You know what I'm saying? Like he's that. But as far as a leader, no, I don't think he's a leader.
That's fair. I don't think he's a leader, but as what both y'all said, kind of the enforcer esque. Like I like that. Before we get off the show, once again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It's here from DraftKings. Can you believe we've had 7 months without an NFL game? Crazy, right? Well, good thing that's over. NFL is here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving you a can't-miss offer for Week 1. This week, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 on any NFL game. DraftKings is hooking everyone up with game day greatness. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every single game day this September. Check the app to see what you get. Download now and use code BOOT to sign up. New customers can take home $200 in bonus bets instantly just for betting $5. That's code BOOT only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours.
The bill collector.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That is whatever. Like, comment, subscribe. Chaz, Lito, thanks for joining tonight. We will see y'all next Sunday.